This video starts off with a massive thank you to everyone out there. We've hit 5K subs on YouTube, a big milestone for me, looking forward to the future and everything so on. This will be a new series for you guys, something I've been wanting to do for quite some time, and I also want to give a massive thank you to those who've pledged their support. Reaching out and doing stuff with you guys has been so awesome and encouraging and really drives me to make more. But let's get into the content. Greetings, Gilliam the Rogue here once again with a new segment that I'd like to call The Threats of Tamriel. This series will primarily be discussing mechanics and difficulties within trials and dungeons within the Elder Scrolls Online. We'll be going through the veteran versions as normals are usually pretty easy, as well as veteran trials. And since we have recently hit 5K subs on YouTube, thank you all very much for that, I've decided to start with the most requested one, and that is Dragonstar Arena. Go to the gate when you're ready. In this, we'll be splitting each of the arenas up into a separate video just so you aren't bombarded with tons of information. You'll be able to go through the ones that you want to find first. And in today's, we'll start with round 1, arguably the easiest. There isn't much going on at hand here, but there is some stuff, and we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about each of the mobs that spawn in there, all of their mechanics, as well as the boss. I'm not going to be discussing strategies of splitting and anything of the sort, because Dragonstar doesn't really need much of a strategy, other than killing specific targets, knowing how to do mechanics, and so on. But I will comment a little bit, and you'll be able to find some strategies if you listen closely and pay attention to what I'm hinting at. So, the first arena in Dragonstar Arena is the Gladiator one. This is what it looks like when you peer in from outside. It just looks like a basic old arena. You would guess nothing of it, until you realize that it's filled with Daedra. Now that should raise a flag right away and be like, there's probably something more than meets the eye here. And you'll see in the background there's a little glowing portal, and that's because I've completed the first arena. You won't see that right away when you enter in. There's going to be a gate right here that's closed off, barring you from going on. There are some braziers, and we'll talk about what those do. And then there's a portal, and the portal will be inactive until you complete it, and you won't even be able to go up there. But first off, we'll notice there are tons of traps around the area. And when this arena is active, if we walk on them, we'll take damage. Now, since I've completed the arena, all of the traps have been disabled so we don't die. But normally they'll do some moderate damage, and they'll put a relatively hefty snare on you. They'll immobilize you for 1 second, and then you'll be able to start moving again. I'm not 100% sure if you can still damage enemies with them. I know there are a few places in the game where you can use traps against enemies, but I don't think that can happen anymore. It was a really interesting strategy at first, but again, it doesn't do a lot of damage, so you're not really missing out. The main thing is just so you're watching your footing, getting you used to the high mobility of Dragonstar Arena, because in here, mobility is important. In most dungeons, you want to min-max your DPS, you want to sit down, you want to find the boss or whatever the beefiest target is, and you want to hunker down and have your tank pull all of the adds to you. In Dragonstar, that's one way of approaching it, but there are many more efficient ways that we can talk about, but mobility is going to be the highest importance in Dragonstar, so you don't want to be this ultra sluggish zero movement character unless you're a tank, because that way you'll be able to keep yourself alive, you'll have a hardy pool, and you'll be able to rely on your team. But as a damage dealer and a healer, you want to have a little bit of mobility built into your kit, whether you're a stand build with medium armor. You're going to have that sprint speed, you're going to be able to dodge roll, so on. As a healer, you want to just be able to move around in a small area, so Templars, usually, if you place down your extended ritual, that will be your movement area, but never stop moving, because you need to keep moving. There's going to be tons of mechanics going on in here. We won't see much of it in the first arena, but later on, as we go through, there's going to be a big emphasis on moving out of red. It'll obviously be more than just red. There'll be special particles like poison or frost or whatever, and each of them will have their own mechanics associated with them, but staying still in Dragonstar is a death sentence, because there's just so much going on. The longer you wait, the more adds will spawn, and so on. So the basic premise of Dragonstar Arena is that there's going to be 5 waves, and we'll direct our attention to these right here. These are simply braziers. They're going to alert us of what round we are. Since I've completed, none of them are lit, but when we come in, none of them will be lit either. Every time we complete one round of Dragonstar within the stage we are associated with, one of these braziers will light blue with flame. That should also be hinting at you that, something odd is going on. Flames usually aren't blue. But anyways, what's going to happen is the wave will start and adds will spawn. They'll spawn in portals. You cannot damage these portals, but you can place damage in them so that the second that they spawn, they will be taking damage. We'll see in the video, I'll explain a little bit more about how to go about those, but pretty much what's going to happen is there's going to be a set amount of spawns, and either if you kill a certain amount of them, or if you wait a certain amount of time, more spawns will come, and they'll come through portals again. And there's usually going to be about 3 to 6 waves of these adds per round per stage. I know that was a lot of context. So stage refers to what arena we're in Dragonstar. There's going to be 9 arenas and then a final 10th one for the boss. That refers to stage. 10 stages in Dragonstar. Next we have rounds, and there are going to be 5 rounds per stage in Dragonstar. Every stage except the 10th will have 5 rounds, and in those rounds there will be waves of adds. The 5th round, there will be bosses spawning. Now, some bosses are standalone, some have adds, some have very spooky adds, so we'll talk about how to tackle those as well. But again, in here, pretty much the main thing we're looking for is to not stand in these. If you stand in it, no big deal. It's not like you're going to get one shot. It's going to drain some of your health. It's going to make you move slow. So it's not something you want to do, but it's not the end of the world if you do. But if we see, there are 4 cardinal directions: south, west, north, and east. And each of these will have adds spawning in them based on what round it is. But now let's go into the gameplay video showing what types of adds there are, the names of them, some of the mechanics they do, as well as how me and my group approached it. And when I'm doing these, they are not going to be ultra min-max, so don't look at these as the best way to tackle everything. Because, again, I want you guys, the player base, to take this knowledge and then do crazy cool stuff with it. Make it your own instead of just being told what to do. But yeah, now let's jump right into the gameplay. Okay, so here is the beginning of our Dragonstar Arena journey. It's going to be the same run, but I'm going to split it up into different stages. There's going to be 10 stages, 10 videos, yada yada. So we're just getting ready, having our bar set. This is my Magic and Nightblade during the Bloodletter. But we're just going to be looking at the adds that spawn first, and then we'll look at gameplay. So the first add that spawns is going to be a sorcerer, right here. These guys do some nasty stuff. They'll have some AoE, they'll have some casts. You can bash most of it. They're going to stay at a range. Your tank is going to want to pull them to you. Really straightforward, not that big of a threat. Next, we have the Templar. The Templars are going to heal. They're going to have a heal cast that must be bashed. Pretty straightforward. Again, low health, very easy to kill. Nuke them down, chain them, make sure you bash their heal so they don't get it off. All right, next we have the Swordsmaster. These are a bit beefier. They have 2 attacks, a heavy attack, that's like a wrecking blow. It'll do a lot of damage. And then they also have silver shards. Both of these will devastate you if you're a vampire or werewolf. Kill them right away. Next is the Berserker. Berserkers are like Nightblades. All they do, their mechanic is agony. So every once in a while, they'll channel. If you do not bash it or block it, you'll be disoriented. If you take damage, it will end, and then it'll put a bleed on you. Next is the Thundermaul. The Thundermaul also has a Wrecking Blow-like attack. They have an AoE Lightning Explosion, and then a AoE Lightning Cleave. You cannot bash the Cleave, just move out of it, but you can bash the Explosion relatively easy. Last is the Gladiator. The Gladiator is the #1 priority for mobs because he has a heavy attack that can devastate as well as the Circle of Protection. And Circle of Protection will heal all allies of his in it, so move out. And finally is Merclad. He is another Gladiator. He's going to spawn with lots of adds, very easy. The main thing with him is every once in a while he's going to place down that Circle of Protection, move him out of it immediately, and do not stand in it. Okay, so those were all of the ads, relatively straightforward, not a lot going on here. So what we're doing is we're getting ready for the portals that start spawning. So you'll see my friend here placed a Scalding Rune. That's because the Scalding Rune is going to explode when the mob comes out and they'll start taking damage. So we're just going to gang up on him, beat the shit out of him, and then move to the next. This isn't going to be super min-max stealthy. It's just going to help chain everything to us so we can just AoE nuke it down. We have a Templar healer who's giving us shards, who's giving us repentance and orbs to help keep our magicka up and healing. She's not doing too much damage because Dragonstar is a bit harder now, but Templars or your healers in general are encouraged to participate in damage, so like Wall of Lightning or jabs or something. Then we have a DK DPS, that's Joy, very good, very helpful, and then I'm again on my Magic and Nightblade, and then Delty is on his tank. So all we're doing is we're looking for where ads spawn, and we're pulling them all to Delty and then just AoEing them down. We're looking for priority targets. There's not going to be much going on in the first 2 rounds. Really simple. The Templars or Sorks will spawn, we'll pull them in, we'll bash them. We saw there that the Thunder Maul tried to do an AoE explosion, we bashed him, easy. Alright, here's a Gladiator. We're going to nuke him down before he can place his Circle of Protection so he doesn't heal himself or his allies. A lot of the mechanics in Dragonstar can be mitigated if you have high focus damage. So you don't have to have insane DPS, but if you're doing things like focusing priority targets that need to be stunned or damaged, then a lot of the issues in Dragonstar will be alleviated. Alright, round 3, another really straightforward one. We're just getting ready. Placing our ground AoEs, focusing the Swordmaster here, don't want to get hit by that Wrecking Blow. And here's a Gladiator, we're going to focus him. You'll notice that the beefier targets have banners on their back. This is kind of a signification that, hey, we're important, focus us. But really straightforward stuff, just mowing through them. They're like little trash mobs, like in a dungeon or something. Not too much going on. Alright, so that was round 3. We'll see the Brazier has lit, that we have completed it. Now we're on to round 4. Again, a very good way about going about these are placing your ground AoEs where the bulk of the ads will spawn. So I placed down my trap in my Wall of Elements, and then I just started spamming AoEs. Get out of that red from the Sork. Oh, the Swordmaster just Silver Sharded someone, so Delty realized he was a threat. He pulled him to him, changed him. And then we killed him. Really easy stuff. Now we're going to have a Gladiator spawning here. You see him right there to the left, and we immediately call out, hey, he's alive, nuke him. And just like that, he's down. Okay, now we've completed our round 4. Now we are on to round 5. This is the boss wave. He is Champion Marcloud. He's going to act exactly like a Gladiator, meaning we don't want to ever stand still with him. Furthermore, he's going to come with some ads, so I'm going to drop a Destro ulti to cleave them down, and then so we can just focus him. But I'm having my other DPS save there so that, because we're going to get more ads as the fight progresses. So don't just drop everything right away. Sort of save things like Nova or Warhorn for the second wave of ads. Marcloud is also going to do some additional mechanics. You saw there he did a Dawnbreaker of Smiting. If you're in that, you'll be knocked down. It does a lot of damage. Look out for it. You can dodge roll it. And then he's also going to have the Silver Shard. So if he turns at you, even though the tank has him taunted, that means you need to block or dodge because he's going to do some heavy damage. You can see in the distance to the right that big glowy gold thing on the ground. That is his Circle of Protection. He drops it roughly every 30 seconds. So you want to keep moving. There he dropped it again, and we're like, move, because he heals for like 3% of his health every second he stands in it. So if he stands in it for too long, he's going to go back to full health, and you're just going to have to fight him even longer. But a really straightforward round here, not too much going on. Deltia did a fantastic job at pulling and chaining, and then locking them down with Talon so they couldn't leave our ground AoEs. But really straightforward. Again, you can see the trap right here. Every once in a while, there's a spike up out of the ground. We're all avoiding it. But round 1, or stage 1 of Dragonstar Arena is really straightforward. Not a lot going on, and now we get to go get our free loot and then repair. There's going to be a little imp to our left that you'll see here. But that was stage 1 of Dragonstar Arena.